Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the AJ Roberts Show. Today we have another fantastic returning guest in the form of Pete Stone from the Sovereign Project. Many of you would have seen this great man's work over the last few years, taught so many people how to, you know, rightly get out of being wrongfully done over by many of the systems, including myself. So thank you very much, my friend. But it's great
No
to have you
worries.
back. It's great to have you back on the show.
It's great to be here. Nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in a while, actually. So it's good to touch base with you.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. On that note, since we last even recorded a podcast, like everything's sort of just changed, like flipped on its head, hasn't it? You know, we were
Yeah.
talking to people, trying to show people at the time that so many of the things and the systems that we've been engrossed in since we were born are very much nefarious and out to basically just control us and keep us running around like little mice on a wheel, paying our taxes and insurances, for everything you can ever imagine, to the point where literally most people are living on the breadline, if not below it. Which, as a result of pandemic, enlarged that number by a great amount. Um, but like since then, obviously, so many people are very much like awakened up to the corruption within the governments, their councils, the social services. People are starting to learn about what the whole birth certificate situation is and what that actually means in life. And now people are really starting to kick back, and also like the sheer number of people that have now kind of worked out that the pandemic was exactly that. Because it's not only affected them health wise, it's affected them greatly financially. And we always said it was going to be one of the big things that kind of awakens humanity is when, their purse strings are like really hit and then they start paying attention. And that's basically what we're seeing right now on just all fronts. Um, but Pete, is it all right to just give the benefit of the viewers and the listeners that tune in and maybe not seen your work before, just describe just a bit
Yeah.
about yourself and what it is that you and the Sovereign Project actually do?
Sure. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. Sovereign Project set up. When was it? 2021. I set it up. Basically, um, in retaliation to what the government was doing, or the people hide behind the legal fiction called government, what they were doing to people regarding a certain medical intervention and mandates. People thought that they had to take this medical intervention through mandates, and I said that's not how it works. So we set up the Sovereign Project, and there's a team of us now. The team's very large. I've got over 100 people in my task force now, just to give you an idea. I've got 15,000 members now. And so what I tend to do is I explain to people how contracts work. Things like how do the courts work, that sort of thing, how to use your own power using your own paperwork through notices, affidavits, that sort of stuff. So I explain to people all that, but the main focus regarding the Sovereign Project, and the clue is in the title, Sovereign Project, is to make you sovereign. And this is a mindset thing. It's not
Mm.
paperwork. There's people out there think, oh, can I get a magic piece of paperwork and become sovereign? No, it's a mindset thing. So it's in your heart and in your mind. That's what makes you sovereign. You go, okay, what does sovereign mean? It means there's no superior reign over you. Sovereign. It's a combination of two words, sov, which is a Latin derivative meaning super, which is highest, and then reign obviously means control. So sovereign means super reign. You've got the superior reign, superior control. No one controls you. So you've got to get rid of the slave mentality. You've got to get away from saying things like, am I allowed? I get this all the time. I talk to people all the time regarding remedies because they're trapped. And I go, what am I going to do? I can't afford this, can't afford to do that. And I say to them, well, you can do X, Y, and Z. And they go, oh, am I allowed to do that? Well, if you ask yourself that, if you ask yourself, am I allowed to do it? You've already lost because you've trapped yourself in your own mind. Because who are you asking? You're asking yourself. And this goes a little bit deeper into their sort of satanic religion within the system. These people who control it, as we're all learning now, it is satanic. There's all sorts of rituals going on. But their satanic religion is essentially about controlling your mind and putting it into a box. And if they can put your mind into a box, they've trapped you and then they can control you. So what the Sovereign Project does, we get rid of that slave mentality. We give you or help you attain the sovereign mindset, and then you're ready to battle these people within the system, and we'll help you and we'll give you the tools to do it as well. It's all for free on the sovereignproject.live website. So hopefully that's a quick rundown of what we do.
Yeah, it's fantastic, mate, and so needed right now because obviously, if you're born into a system, and programmed into a system, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's important, you know, at a time like we've experienced in the last few years, is that there is outfits like yours that are, you know, they're wanting to help the people become sovereign and be very much part of we the people, which is what this is all about. It's about
Sure.
taking back our control from the very people that have been manipulating us since birth, really,
Yes.
and our parents and their parents and their parents, because this goes back generations. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
just like our lifetime. Um, do you, speaking about lifetimes, do you think listening to you there and what you guys do you think like previous lives that you could have been Robin Hood?
Maybe.
I mean, you live in the right area.
Yeah, that's true. It's not far away, the large tree.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Um, yeah,
Go ahead.
obviously one of the big things that people are really becoming aware of now is the fact that pretty much majority of the councils around the UK have gone completely bust. You know, their purse strings have been completely like squeezed, and that then begs the question to everybody, like, what are we paying council tax for? You know, you don't have to look far to see that like everywhere around the country is in disarray in terms of like the roads are in like awful mess.
Yes.
You know, there's just roadworks everywhere without anybody doing any work. You know, and people are picking up on this. You know, you see it in all the community chats on social media now. Just every normal man, woman, and dog are like complaining about the state of everywhere. So obviously, council tax is one of the very things that people have been paying for a large amount of time and have always believed that it was, you know, criminal and
Mm.
unlawful to not pay council tax. Again, that's just part of the deep level programming, but
Mhm.
nobody's at fault here. Um, what are we looking at right now in
Mm.
terms of the council tax? Are we do you think collectively, because I think everybody's had enough now, everybody's seen it for what it is, and we'll only ever pay stuff as long as like people keep paying it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the good thing about 2020, even though it did cause a lot of hardship with all the lockdowns and everything, is a lot of people woke up. So they started looking into, they didn't like the so-called law coming from government. So they started looking into this common law. And then they started researching, and then they discovered the birth certificate, which you mentioned earlier. And then discovered that we are surety for the debts of government. Thank you very much. And then what we discovered is that government, including councils, are in fact corporations. This is a big one. All right. And I don't care who disagrees with me, they are just wrong. So councils and corporations, councils and governments are corporations, and it even says so in their own legislation. So even if you want to refer to their own legislation, the council was in fact set up as a body corporate in 1888. That's in their own legislation. They admit to it. Now, a corporation basically means dead entity or dead speak. Okay, so it just means a dead entity has been created by some people. They get together, create the corporation, and put it down in paper. That's what it is. And the council used to be a political corporation, but in 1973 it switched to a business corporation. Okay, still corporations, but it became a business corporation. And today we now know that all councils have what is called a DUNS number. So a DUNS number is a Dun and Bradstreet number. It's a 9-digit number that is applied to all businesses for credit reporting purposes. And we've set up a what we call the Sovereign Wiki. It's on our the Sovereign project.live website. There's a button you can press. It'll take you to the Sovereign Wiki. And on there is a page that will list just about all the DUNS numbers for every council. So if you want to look up your council and find the DUNS number, we've pretty much covered them all, and there's a page there for you, so you can go and look it up. So no question, absolutely, they are corporations. Now, a lot of these councils have not been registered directly with Companies House. Okay, some are, you can find them, but other councils are actually living like on piggyback with another corporation that is registered with Companies House. Okay, that's how they hide it, because it would become too obvious that they were actually a business. Now that we know that, we go, fantastic. We now know that the council is a private business, just like McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. It's exactly the same. And you can only do business with a corporation through contract. Okay. And to receive a bill, then you must actually supply or put in an order. Okay, you cannot receive a bill unless you placed an order. This is really easy to understand. So if you go into a restaurant and you sit down, before anything happens, the manager's not going to come up and give you your bill because you go, well, I've not put my order in yet. So order first, bill second. Now, this is something really critical that people need to understand. The entire legal system operates in a system of commerce. This is legal titles, contracts, that sort of stuff, okay? Within their system of commerce, you cannot be issued with a bill unless you've placed an order, because it would mean the bill is fraudulent. No different than me or you. I can't just create a bill and then randomly send it to somebody and expect them to pay it because they go, where's the contract? I don't have anything to do with you. Where's the order? So now we know this. This means that every single person who is receiving a bill from any council, like probably in this month, you are a victim of fraud, because if you did not put an order in, then that bill is fraudulent, and now you can act upon it. Now, we have created a sovereign project remedy for the council tax, because we cover it a lot. And if you go on the Sovereign Wiki page, there'll be council tax remedy page, and there's a free download. You can download it. It's a zip folder, and in there, there's all this information that we've collected. Very easy to understand, very easy indeed. And there is also a template notice that you can use to serve notice on your council, MP, that sort of stuff. But yes, the council tax, I can go through some of the crimes that the councils are actually committing, if you want me to.
This is the podcast for it, my friend.
Fantastic.
Far away. Well,
I can go through. We've discovered at least 25 plus crimes. Now, when we see crimes, it's crimes in quotes, what we're saying is that employees who work for the council are violating these pieces of legislation on their books. Remember, if you are registered with the government or you work for the government, then all legislation applies to you. You're an employee. It doesn't apply to us. I don't work for the government, so legislation doesn't apply to me, but it does apply to them. So I'll just touch on some of the information that we're sharing for free. One of them is that the council tax, the council is a corporation, which is referred on the Local Government Act 1888, Chapter 41, Part 5, Section 79, Paragraph 1. If you want this information, it's free download. Go on the Sovereign Wiki and read it for yourself. We've also got oh yes, this is a good one. Also the Local Government Act 1972, Chapter 70, Part 1, Section 2, Subsection 3, and it states each council mentioned in subsection 1 and 2 above shall be a body corporate by the name of said council. Okay, so it's a body corporate, and so that's that. Now, there's also information that says that these corporations, these councils, have taken on the duties and liabilities of the inhabitants of the land. Okay, so this means that the councils are supposed to take care of mowing the lawn, emptying the bins, all this sort of stuff, and not charge us for doing that, because it's their duty to do this. They're actually paid by central government. The central government pays them to do this. That is their duty. So they have the duty and liability to maintain the land that we live upon, okay, for free. And they're not supposed to charge us. The council can only bill us if we put in an order for a separate job, like a dropped curb. All right. So if we say, can you drop my curb? I'll put an order in, then they will bill me, because that's outside of their requirements, their duties. So here's the truth. An inhabitant living in a private home cannot be liable for tax, okay, including council tax, not liable. So what the council people do is they change the language a little bit, and they change it to resident living in a dwelling. This is how they trick you. They trick you with legal titles and terminologies that the average person can't read and understand. They're using the word resident because they're trying to pull you into commerce. Okay, so if they call you a resident, it means that you are living in a property that you do not own for business purposes, and you are now conducting business with the council. Therefore, they can then bill you because you're in business with them. And by the way, the word dwelling basically is a place that a slave lives in. Okay, so if you think, if you're living in a dwelling, you are a slave to the land, and the landowner owns you through the land. So resident basically means business. So that's how they're tricking you. And this is all a deception. Now, this is something very big. Since the year 2003, councils have been, before 2003, councils have been issuing their own liability orders regarding non-payment of council tax bills. Okay, but after the year 2003, they have not been allowed to do that. The court has pulled this away and says you can't do this because that means that the council would be acting as a court, and they can't have that. So since the year 2003, if you've received any form of liability notice from the council saying that you had to pay them and they seized your car, did attachment of earnings, anything like that, you would, robbed of your goods and all the rest of it, then you now have the right to sue for damages all the way back to 2003. So this is something that Sovereign Project is working with. If you want to get involved, get in contact with us and help us work together on that. So everybody, for the past 20 years, if you've been a victim of a fraudulent liability order, you are now in a position to sue for damages. And this has been determined even in their court of law. We can get into that as well if you want.
Basically.
Yeah, you want me to carry on with that? I can do that.
Yeah.
No worries.
There's a lot of burning ears at the moment.
I can get into this. This is really juicy. And this is like everyone can play this game. Now, there has been a judgment, and it is against a debt collector. I think it is Bristow and Suit, I believe.
Yeah.
This is basically going throughout the SFT movement, Sovereign Freedom Truth movement. Everybody in this sort of world of the SFT movement is now learning this. Now, what's been determined within this court, and is now on the record, is that the notice of liability order that the council has been issuing is not a government, not a court document. All right, so it's not a court document. So if it is not a court document, then it does not carry the authority of the court. So and that means it hasn't come from the court. So now here's the thing, even in their own legislation, anybody masquerading as a court or trying to pretend they speak for the court, well, that's a criminal offense, and that's 7 years imprisonment. Okay, so that means everybody who works for the council who is issuing these notice of liability orders, trying to deceive people into thinking it's a liability order, they're committing a crime within the legal system, which is 7 years imprisonment. Now, further to this court ruling, it's also been determined that the notice of liability order created by the council has no paperwork trail. Oopsie daisy, can't have this. So let me explain how a normal liability order works. And this is in their system within a county court. So a county court basically deals in contracts. Let's keep it nice and simple. So to be able to attain a liability order from the court, there has to be a paperwork trail, and it has to start with an original contract or a violation within a jurisdiction. All right. So that means either there was an original contract, written contract, that has now been breached, okay, or you violated someone's jurisdiction. For example, you bumped into their car, you damaged their car, and now you've got to pay to fix it. So there has to be a cause. So it's either a cause or a contract. Now, this is how the system is set up. Once that has been determined, so there's the actual original contract. You have to prove that it did exist. You then have to prove that there is a debt. So that has to be proven in court. So a judge has to say, yeah, there is now a debt pertaining to the contract. Once that is created, then you can move on to the liability order. And that is where the council's got a major problem, because the council is a private business. And for it to act, there has to be proof of contract. And there isn't one. There's no contract. So if there's no contract, then no debt can be claimed. Because, if there's no contract, how can I owe a debt? I can't. Now, this is where it gets really serious for the debt collectors as well. because every single debt collector. Now, let me just distinguish the difference between I'm going to use the wording court-appointed bailiff and debt collector. Right now, court-appointed means they work for the court. So this means that they are sworn an oath, they have a warrant card, and they act like a constable, okay? And they are under oath, and if they do something wrong, they can be liable. So they are following the orders of the court. A debt collector is a private third-party interloper with no authority whatsoever. You know, not that authority comes from court, but you know what I mean. Now, what these debt collectors have been doing is been faking it and bluffing it, and they've just been saying to people in language that makes it look like they're asking you to pay them, and they're just saying you've got to pay us, but they have no right to make a claim to the debt. And let me explain why. Because the way it works in their legal system is if a debt is deemed to be genuine, all right, so there's an original contract, then there's a debt, okay, the debt is now, the court says, yes, there's a debt. Well, there's two parts to that debt that I can sell. And one of them is the equitable title. So that's the value of the debt. And then there's another title called the right to claim. Now, this right to claim has to be sold along with the debt. So the debt collector must have this right to claim before they can claim upon you and say, you've got to pay us. But no single debt collector is doing that. And they can't do it with council tax because there's no debt, because there's no contract. You see how it all collapses? And the thing is this is why when you do debt validation, say you get contacted by debt collectors in the post and you do debt validation. And by the way, there is a free handout on the website, sovereignproject.live website. It's called Debt Validation Process. Free download, download. There's templates and all the rest of it. Explains how to do it. Two of the questions you ask, well, there's a few questions. One of the questions you always ask with any debt collector or any third-party interloper, first of all, let's just start off with a simple one. What language are you using and what dictionary are you using? Because that traps them straight away because they go, oh, crap. You know, we can't use Black's Law now. So they've got to own up to that. Then what you do is you ask them to identify themselves. So you say, well, who are you? Because all I've got is some automated template that's come through my letterbox. It's not got a signature on it. I don't know who you are. So you're going to have to identify yourself. So I need your incorporated certificate. I need your DUNS number, and I need your company house number. I need that before I can even move forward. And then you go on and you ask certain questions and say, right, if this is some form of claim of debt, I'm going to need to see the novation agreement or the deed of assignment. You've trapped them again because they're going to go, oh, because they haven't got either. So the deed of assignment is where the right to claim the debt has been transferred from the principal creditor over to the debt collector, acting as an agent. He has to have that document because he has to prove that he has the right to claim. And if he doesn't have the deed of assignment, he doesn't have the right to claim. Now, this is where it gets really deep because you can prove now, you can contact these debt collectors and ask them to provide all this documentation. You give them 30 days. And if they can't provide it, then you've got them committing fraud. Now you can go after them. Now you can contact them and say, I've given you 30 days for all this documentation. I haven't received it. Therefore, this must be a fraudulent claim. And I'm going to charge you at least £10,000 damages, which is a nice little number because it falls into the small claims court.
Well, this is how a lot of these PCN car parks are working, aren't they? And at the council car parks more so than because the council car parks using more bailiffs and debt collectors. Correct. It's more the PCN car parks, isn't it? Use these debt collecting agencies, but
Correct.
they just send you letter after letter after letter, you know, with nice red writing.
Yeah.
But it's the council car parks that send, you know, or the little gnomes that they call bailiffs around your house.
Yeah.
And again, they just use that fear tactics. And the amount of, I mean, I've had run-ins with myself, and it's just like there's no court, there's no nothing. There's literally just an instruction from the council, which isn't a court order.
No, exactly right. And what they're doing, again, they're breaching their own legislation because they're issuing fines. You can't fine me. How can you fine me? It hasn't even gone to court yet. So there has to be a determination. So this is like this process pretty much works with everything. So yeah, parking tickets. All they can do is contact you and say if they've got proof that you park there for an hour and they charge £1 an hour, then all they can do is send you a letter saying you owe us £1. That is the limitation of what they can lawfully ask for, because that is the limit of their damages. It's £1 an hour. All right, you buy that for an hour. Okay, quid. They don't do that. They jump to fines and stuff like that. And you can't do that. No, 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 no. Because the way it would work is it has to go to court. It has to be determined whether or not there was an original debt for £1. And then that can be put down as a liability order. But here's the thing. The courts won't even deal with anything. I think the minimum amount is 50 quid. The courts won't deal with it if it's less than 50 quid. So the parking ticket people know this. Because let's say, you park there all day and it's £1 an hour, and you've parked there all day for 8 hours, it's 8 quid. Well, all they can do, and this is a council as well, all they can do is send you a letter saying, oh, please pay us the £8. They could try going to court, but the courts themselves won't take it on, because they go, you're only claiming 8 quid. And the minimum you can claim within their legal system is 50 quid.
But again, they're just preying on the fact that people have no idea about this, do they? So, and then at the same time, those who, are sad enough to stay in and watch daytime TV all the time, they have all the bailiff programs on. You only ever see these big, ugly goons winning every single time, and the debtor being in, pure fear. So that's what those programs are for. It's quite amusing. But it's interesting because I think this is why this conversation is really important, because I think people are a lot more robust now, and I think there's not as much fear because people have ridden that fear wave, from the pandemic or whatever choices they made, and they've come out the other side. There's a lot more robust and more connected individuals. People's networks have grown extensively, haven't they? Mine and yours included. And we're all singing off the same song sheet pretty much enough at the same now. And it's just a case of people just stepping into that fear just a little bit to challenge it. And that's all part of taking back your sovereignty. The mindset which Pete talked about, but also from you as a person, this whole mission here, part of this mission is to have this experience, but to become sovereign. And that is free. That is free,
Yes.
And that's what we're all gearing towards. It's not some super level. It's all about sort of it's becoming sovereign and free, and we do that quicker collectively, and that's why things like projects like your own, the Sovereign Project, is so important, and why it's grown and blown up so massively. The numbers speak for themselves. So I encourage everybody who's watching and listening to get on Pete's website and start using these templates and start listening and learning as much as you can around this, because unless you don't want to and you want to stay on this little hamster wheel just with your local governments and your council pushing you down like that, where you're struggling to pay your completely fraudulent utility bills that they've racked up billions and billions and billions of pounds worth of profit every quarter, and tell us about it. But again, just the same as the council tax, same as everyone else, if people are still paying it, they're going to keep charging us.
Yes, absolutely. And that can bring us on to the next phase of the Sovereign Project, because we've got so many members now. And I want to talk about the council tax litigation team we're putting together, and everybody can get involved in this. And so the way it works, we've got over 12, 13 workshops now being set up. We've got some in other countries as well, which is nice. And also what we're doing is we're setting up what we call a chess club. Now, a chess club is normally done on a weekend, normally Sunday afternoon, something like that. This is where a group of people, it's quite casual, a group of people meet up once a week on a Sunday and discuss things regarding sovereignty, help each other with remedies and that sort of stuff. So you're not alone. Because a lot of people feel alone. What do I do? What to do? I'm all by me. Everyone in my streets numpty, and I've got no clues. Well, no, use the Sovereign Project network, okay? Because we're on almost every single social network now. We've got a presence on it. So reach out and try and find people in your area and meet up once a week on a Sunday. Set up your own chess club. Now, what we're going to do, we are looking for only 650 chess clubs set up across England, Scotland, and Wales. Ireland can play the game as well, it's no problem. And what we're looking for is a minimum 650 in each ward where there's an MP, because there's 650 MPs. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use our own individual sovereign status to put an end to this once and for all. Because the sovereign does not petition. We don't protest. We don't vote. None of this we're not doing this. We're telling, all right? We're putting it down in paper and we're saying, oi, get this done. So what we're going to be doing is once we've got the numbers up and we've created the network and everyone can get involved, all of us will be serving notice on each politician and saying, look, you do know that this council tax is criminal. We've got absolute proof now. The liability orders is fraudulent. It goes back 20 years. Okay. Debt collectors are out there running around using fraudulent documentation. They have no right to make claims and they're pretending that they're working for the courts when they're not. This is now exposed. It's out in the open. So we're telling these MPs, do something about it. You've got 30 days and we're giving them a time limit. Now, this is where it really starts kicking off because I've had a little whisper from let's just say an MP friend of mine, not saying any more than that, that if every MP is notified of a situation, then they have to bring it up for debate within the Houses of Commons. They've got to bring it up. And this politician is willing to go out there and expose the corruption of the council tax if he can get the debate going. Now, if that happens, then that can be a news clip which will go viral. And then everybody, all the stupid idiots who are still asleep, they'll finally wake up and go, oh, well, I don't have to pay council tax. No, you don't. It's a corporation. There's no obligation to pay it, right? So that'll probably wake them up. And this is going to snowball, all right? Now, it's not only are we going to get this moving and everyone who gets involved, but there's going to be a payout for you. This is something else we're working on. Because we're going to show you how to sue the debt collectors, everybody involved. Like I said, this is going back from 2003. So everybody who's been caught up in this now has the right to sue any debt collector that's been using bogus paperwork. And we're going to show you how to do it. And we're going to hand out the documentation. So here you go. This isn't going to happen overnight. You've got to put the effort in. You've got to learn this. You've got to dedicate at least one Sunday afternoon a week, create the network, and we will help you, get to the end goal. But that's what being sovereign means. You've got to be responsible. You've got to do something. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet and say, yeah, I want to be a part of this and I want to put an end to the corruption. Fine. You've met me halfway. I will meet you the rest of the way. Here's the information. So that is the council tax litigation team. I've got someone who's actually running it for me. I have someone else who's running the chess clubs for me. So get in contact if you're interested. I'll put you onto my team members and we'll get this set up. And I'm hoping to get 650 minimum chess clubs all over the country. And then we can start acting. Once I've set this network up, not only can I tackle council tax, I can go after everything. 15-minute cities, not happening anymore. You, Les, that's going in the bin.
Yes.
Everything else. I'm telling you, when you learn the system and you know how it works and you know how fragile it is, you went, oh my God, you can have so much fun with this.
Yeah.
When you know that legislation, it doesn't apply to you, but it applies to them.
Yeah. And one of the big subjects as well that is a huge fraudulent control measure is all the insurances that we're expected to pay. I mean, we were talking the other week because and I'm sure everyone's listening, it's can't believe how much their premiums have been bumped up, but noticeably young drivers, the cost has just gone mental. Like my son's not long past his test, and they're wanting £2,800 a year, like at a minimum, and then they're like, well, if you put this controlling black box in your car as well, we'll bring the price down for you. Like, it just shows you how much of a gimmick it is. I was really quite astounded by your response in terms of like how they actually take out bonds and what an insurance policy actually is. But is it all right to just touch on that so people actually know what they're actually paying for, or how fake it all is basically, and that it's us that's losing out once again.
Oh yes, and I tell you, when people start waking up to this. So I think we all now know about the birth certificate. Okay, birth certificate is a corporation set up when you were born. You point to trust, blah blah blah. And short story is the government uses your name to create credit. All right, because there is no real money in this world. No intrinsic money, money with intrinsic value, such as gold and silver, doesn't exist. So we all use promissory notes, which is backed by credit of the people. Okay. So this is done on an individual basis. So each and every one of us has a Sesta KV trust that the government controls, and they use that to create the credit and pays for everything. This is like utilities, gas, electric, and insurance. So your car insurance is already paid for. And you go, what's going on? How does this work? Well, very similar to the way mortgage is. I think a lot of people now, especially in the SFT movement, has realized that we are the creditors of our own mortgages and our own loans. There is no loan, so the mortgage company doesn't lend us anything. We are facilitating our own credit through the trust that was set up when we were born. Okay, we are the creditors, and then we are tricked into becoming the debtor. So we're ended up paying back our own credit. Just quickly, the Sovereign Project is now set up a YouTube channel, which if you want to look on YouTube, it says The Real Sovereign Project, because there's a few scammers out there now pretending to be the Sovereign Project. All right, unfortunately. By the way, we do not charge for membership. So if there's a Sovereign Project website out there charging you for membership, that's a fake one. So the Real Sovereign Project on on YouTube, and we've done a 22-minute animation video that explains all this. So if you want to learn more, check that out. It's very simple to follow. Anyway, so this is how it works. So when you take out your policy, what you're actually doing is you are signing for a bond of around $4 million. Now, everything is dollar-based, by the way. I know people think, oh, we'll use pounds over here. No. So if you can refer back to Bretton Woods, everything is dollar-based. Everything's dollars. So we are pegged to the dollar. So everything's in dollars. So you sign for a $4 million bond, and you give this bond, you don't know you're doing this, but you give this bond to the insurance company. And you say to the insurance company, right, in an event of an accident and I crash into somebody, then this $4 million bond is to be used to gain access into my trust fund. And now you can pay for all the damage I caused, all the administration costs and everything out of this $4 million, you see. And that's what you're doing. Now, after the 12 months is up, the insurance company are supposed to give you back that bond if you didn't crash, if you didn't cause an accident. He says, well, it's been 12 months. The policy was just 12 months. I didn't crash. Can I have my $4 million back, please? And they're supposed to give it to you. Now, technically, they don't have to give it to you unless you request it. So they don't let you know about it. Now, they will sit on this bond for about 3 years. And then after 3 years, because you didn't claim it back, they will sell it. And they sell it on the debt market, and they don't sell it for the full 4 million, but they sell it close to that. So every time you have 12 months policy, you're making the insurance companies $3.5 million a pop. And then they've got the cheek to start charging you. So they shouldn't charge you at all. They should facilitate this for free, because you're saying to them, here, you hold my bond. If I crash, then the insurance company gets paid out for all the work they do to rectify the situation. So there should be no policies. No one should be paying it for any insurance at all. No, none of it. It's a complete fraud. You're being scammed massively.
Well, that makes sense why they like now, it doesn't matter how old you are, how many no claims bonus you got, which is another like pile of trash.
Yeah.
Everyone's premiums are going up because they want you to take out another policy, because then you're just feeding their system. It's that they want you to cancel that policy and then get another one.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
That's right. I mean, even if you're looking at their system, you only have to take out one insurance policy right at the beginning. Say you're 17, you've just passed your test, although you don't need a license. That's another scam. So you don't need a license, but anyway. So you scammed into getting a license, turn 17, and you're driving your car. You only ever need to take out one insurance policy. And as long as you don't crash for the whole life, you go, there you go. That's it. Because you've done your $4 million bond. There it is. It's sitting there, and they can just reuse the same bond every year. So you're never, ever paying for premiums. And even if you do crash, okay, you crash, and you do £20,000 worth of damage. It's not $4 million. So there's plenty of that bond left. You've got to have a serious crash to do $4 million worth of damage. But yeah, it's a complete fraud. And what this is a war against the motorists, because I think we all know now the government wants us out of our cars. They want to get rid of them. So we are going to be peasants, and we're only going to be able to cycle or use public transport, which will be heavily monitored. And you will not be able to use public transport if your social credit rating is no good. So you will not be able to drive a car. That's going to be taken off us, or they're going to attempt to take it off us. I think we know that. But again, Sovereign Project, we've got the remedies, nothing to worry about. We know how fragile the system is. There is a way out. And that is.
And just quickly before you go on to that, that's literally like, all these little nudge tactics are all designed to put people, or to manipulate you into accepting 15-minute cities.
Yes.
Where you can't really drive around anywhere, and the places you can drive around are 20 miles an hour only, and there's ULEZ cameras everywhere, and or any other camera. You only have to go into London, ladies and gents, to see how like controlled it is. I did a talk there in December, and then when I drove out of there in the morning the next day, it was just traffic light, traffic light, traffic light, traffic light, traffic light, cameras everywhere. Literally every being is on the phone with AirPods in. I literally felt like I was in District something of the Hunger Games. I was just getting out of it, and going to another district. That's literally what it looked like. It was just like robots everywhere. I was just like, wow. And that's what they want everywhere. They don't want you living off grids. They're just hiking the taxes up for people that have camper vans and and want to live off grid as well, to try and deter from that, because more people are selling their houses, getting rid of their mortgages and everything else like that there's ever been ever.
Yes, absolutely. But if you know how the system works, which we do, you will see a way out. And we will realize that these people are bluffing. So the people who control the system are bluffing in a big way. Everything that is happening to people today is happening to themselves because they've been tricked. And what's happened is they've been tricked into entering into a corporate jurisdiction. That's the trick. And people don't know this. For example, a country is a corporation. It's not the land that you're walking on at all. It's got nothing to do with the land. So the UK, all right, everyone says to me, do you live in the UK? I go, that's impossible. How can I live in a corporation? It's a piece of paper with UK written on it. How can I live in it? How do I crawl into a piece of paper and live? What? Talk sense, will you? No, of course I don't live in the UK. It's impossible. I live on the land. There's a land I live on, and I like to refer to it as Albion because that's the oldest name for this land that I walk upon. Don't live in the UK. Got nothing to do with it. So the UK is a corporation. I mean, here's the thing. If people haven't figured this out, I mean, all right, people are a little bit slow. I get it. But here's the thing. You've got UK. Have you heard of England? Have you heard of Wales? Have you heard of Scotland? Have you heard of Great Britain? Okay. Have you heard of the British Isles? Have you heard of Britannia? Rule Britannia. Have you heard that? Are these different lands? If my foot is supposedly on the UK, my right foot, can you please tell me when my left foot is actually standing on England? I can't be standing on two pieces of land at the same time, can I? So clearly something else is going on, isn't it? And here's the thing. England as a country, which is a corporation, ceased to exist in 1707. People are going to the football grounds with England. You do know that country doesn't exist anymore. It stopped existing in 1707. It's a corporation. So it's a corporate jurisdiction, right? Once you realize this, you go, oh, I can play the game now. So the roads, they're not UK roads, okay? They're just roads. Simple, period. End of discussion. There is a jurisdiction on there called UK, which is a corporate jurisdiction. And the only way to enter that UK corporation jurisdiction is to register your car. You've given it away. You give your car away. You register it with the DVLA. Okay, you've handed it over. The UK corporation now has it. They own it. They have the controlling interest. You just become the registered keeper. That's it. And you only have a limited use of government property with certain restrictions. And that means you now need a license. You now need MOT. You now have to pay road tax because you're operating in the jurisdiction of the UK now. You've got to do car insurance, for example. You've got to do all sorts of stuff. You now have to obey the signpost that says 20 mile an hour limit. That's a corporate sign. It doesn't mean anything. It only means something if you operate in that jurisdiction. That's the trap. So you go, oh, now I know. ULEZ only operates in that jurisdiction as well. Now you know this. You go, well, all I've got to do then is deregister my car, take my car back. Yeah. You take your car back, get rid of the number plates, get rid of the V5 logbook. Thank you very much. Go away. I've got a laudial title on my car. None of it applies to you now. You don't need a driver's license. You don't need MOT. There's no road tax anymore. The 20-mile-an-hour speed limits don't apply. ULEZ does not apply. Parking tickets do not apply. The whole thing does not apply to you, period. That is how fragile the system is. And as soon as people wake up to these jurisdictions and legal titles, and we get enough people waking up to it, it's game over. It's game over. People have been tricked. And that's it. It's very simple.
And with the DVLA side of stuff, is that plenty of information on your website as well?
Yes. Well, we will be putting, there is a piece regarding license. Okay. So there's information on there saying what a license is. All right. So as soon as you learn what a license is, which basically means asking permission. I mean, this is why, for years and years, I was like banging my head against the wall and trying to wake people up and saying, license, hello, you got a license plate on your car, license plate. Okay. It means you're asking permission. Okay. Shouldn't you find out who you're asking permission from to drive the car? You need a license to drive it. Ask who you're asking permission from to drive your car if it's yours. Wake up. But anyway, yeah, yes, it's in front of your face. If people just want to learn to read, this information is on the Solving Project website. It's all free, so learn that. We do online courses now. If you can't get to a local workshop, we do it online. So we do a 22-week foundation course, and we do a 17-week masterclass with a 3-week debt validation course as well. So if you want to do that, it's all there for you, people. Learn how the system works, learn about jurisdictions, and you can start playing this game, and then you will win. Okay, but you have to use your own paperwork. You've got to use your own authority. Do not go looking for forms. Do not go looking for your rights. Your rights are yours. Okay. People fall into this trap all the time. They go looking for their rights. I'll say to someone, I say, you do know you have the right to privacy, don't you? And then I'll say, where do I look that up? And I'll go, oh, you've lost. You've lost already. I can't help you. You're going to be a slave for the rest of your life if you think you've got to go looking up your rights. But anyway.
But again, it's just like slowly but surely, people are just, if anything, just asking questions like, where do I sit with all of this? Because it is a lot to take in, especially if we've had generational social engineering, taking place here, where we've always kind of, especially in England, they kind of, and it's the same kind of blueprints, in like the United States and Canada, Australia, stuff like that.
It's all the same.
Where you're born. You go for the whole birth certificate process. You're then part of the corporation, and then you then go through even through child vaccination programs, like all of it. It's just all control. You go to school, or indoctrination centers, whatever you want to call them, where they don't teach you any of this kind of stuff for obvious reasons. They teach you like pseudoscience and pseudo history. And then and send you on your merry way, like after school, like not really hardly knowing anything apart from all the information they flooded your mind with to retain to pass some tests. And then but you're always getting the pressure from mummy and daddy, who were pressured by their mummy and daddy to get the best grades so you can go to the best university, to get the best mortgage, to get the better paid job. And that's winning in life. And then you've won when you paid your mortgage off when you're 55. Like and then most people then are looking down, going, oh, now we're mortgage free, we can go and like travel to all these places I've wanted to go to, but I can't really do it because I'm massively overweight, I can't see my feet. Yes. And my knees and joints are all in a shit state from working on the tools my whole time to pay for my mortgage. But we're here, and that's that is basically like that generational programming that's taken place, and like expectancy, hasn't it? So people need to start unpacking all that. Yes. And first, because it's put us into that precarious position on purpose, so that we don't question, we just continue to pay, and we keep that wheel going. Hence why both parents now are almost forced to go out and work, because they can't afford for just one parent to work, and they can't afford for one parent to bring the children up. So that's why they have the kids in school so early, and both of you out paying your taxes, both of you out paying all the other costs that you have for motor vehicles. And again, hence why they want so many people, or throw the idea out there, the carrot of getting your car on PCP, or lease or something like that,
Yep.
because again, this is the other mindset that's been brought in, is what can you afford each month? You know,
Yes.
people don't look at like what their overall pay, and no one looks at like what they're going to pay for the house full after however many years. They just look at what they can afford each month.
Hmm.
And again, that's another mindset people need to get themselves out of, because it's the same with mobile phones. The latest iPhone. Oh yeah,
Oh.
I could stretch 60 quid a month because I need it, because it's obviously a consumer item.
Mm.
Again, it's just like society's been dragged into this, the whole dystopian mindset of like I need to do this every day, but a stretch of what I can afford.
Hmm.
Um, and that's why we've got such a serious problem with mental health, especially amongst the male population, because again, it's just driven so many people's minds into believing that they're just here to pull a wage to pay their ridiculous energy bills and their council taxes and stuff like that. And that's literally where we're at in this country right now.
Yes, that's right. Everyone's just working just to pay bills that are completely bogus.
Mm,
And you've got no life. No one's living anymore. They're just constantly working, and it's destroying the family. Like you mentioned earlier, that the husband has to work, the wife has to work, and that means that the child is now being brought up by the state. So the state can, you know, put propaganda into these kids, so they don't know what a boy and a girl is anymore. That's how bad it's getting.
mm,
So yeah, it's the destruction of the family. That's obvious to see. And to have a don't like to use the word society, but a strong culture of people living upon the land, you need to start with strong families.
mm,
That's what you need. So the government destroys that, and then they can control us and cause division and all sorts of stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going back to the corporations, the government, and the birth certificate as well, and learning to understand and spot language, that people are either issued with a social security number or a national insurance number. Yeah, and you go, well, hang on a minute, what we're talking here? What's going on? You got national insurance. I mean, if you are operating in the UK corporation, you're issued with a national insurance number. You go, what's that about? Well, national, that's a corporation. All right. That's a corporation that you found yourself in, operating in, because you've now got a national insurance number. And insurance, you go, what's that mean? Well, it actually means that you are the insurance for the corporation called national. You're the insurance. And the same with the social security number. You go, what does that mean? Social. Well, that's society, social. Yeah.
Mm,
That's a foundation for socialism. So a society, well, what's that? Well, society is where a group of people have joined, got membership, and they've agreed to a set of rules and a controlling body. That's a corporation. Oh, right. Okay. So you are now part of this corporation called social. And security. Well, what's the security about? Yeah, you're the security for that society.
mm, yeah.
You are. So you're
Mm,
the insurance. Again, you got to learn how to read, and that's why people are trapped, because they can't see it. It is written in front of you. These politicians do tell you. They tell you all this in your face, but because people they can't read, they can't tell what's actually going on. And
mm,
again, Sovereign Project, we help you with that, so you can learn to read for the first time.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's so important. Like projects like yours, and at a time like now when people are just people want to start. They want to take their power back. They understand that we've been suppressed. They understand daily. That people's thirst for knowledge has risen massively in the last like year. And great things like this are so important. Just like so many more people are like really starting to learn about natural health and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because we've always been brought up that like you need to listen to your doctor. And again, that's another big program that's been installed into us since children, is that we need to outsource everything. We need to give away our autonomy. We need the doctor to fix us, or
Yeah.
trust your MP. Who's there for you. Trust your council; they're there for you.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff. Trust the police, trust the medical services, trust, like people have lost trust in all of those services now. And the court systems, all of it. So this is so vitally important at this time, because even if you just make one small change with the stuff we've discussed today,
Mm.
you know what I mean, you're taking that big step into like deeper sovereignty,
Yes.
into again what we're here for. like, you
Yeah.
know, become sovereign, which in essence is becoming free.
Yes.
Um, so just for obviously the people watching this episode maybe for the first time, like, and they're a bit like, well, this is all ringing sense to me, but like I don't even know where to start. Like, uh, obviously my advice would be don't try and do it all at once because that would just
No.
be an absolute mind blowing head fuck. But like, what would you suggest for people that are just starting out and like, you know, I want to challenge my council tax. I
Yeah.
hate my MP isn't serving us.
Hmm.
Our councils are clearly like, you know, they're skint and not doing
Yes.
anything.
Bankrupt. Yeah.
What would you suggest for people who are just starting out that
Um.
really want to dive deep?
Yeah. What I would suggest is trying to do it on your own is a tough call. I get that. So try and reach out to others. Like I say, if you can set up a chess club, just a local group in your area, and maybe meet others, that can help.
Hmm.
I know we have a very large group here where we are. I mean, I think we've got over 500 people just on the local email list as it is. Um, so I know it's comforting for people to know they're not alone anymore because they're with hundreds of other people now.
Hmm.
So they don't feel crazy. So first step would be try and reach out to someone in your area, like a friend or something like that you can trust, and then at least you got someone to talk to. And then you can start working on this free stuff that we give out. You can download documents from the website and you can read it, discuss it, that sort of stuff. Um, and like I say, if you do want to set up a chess club, get in contact with us and you will become a part of a very large growing network. So you can reach out to other people. It's all about networking. It's all about knowing someone you can trust and talk to, and you can help each other. So some people are further ahead than others. And I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm pretty much at the head of everybody. So I'm willing to, reach out a hand and say, would you like a hand? And I'll pull you along. Not a problem. I'll help you, help you. And then if I'm helping you, then you help the person behind and you
Hmm.
help them. Yeah. And then we start sharing all this information together. And yeah, just get out there, talk, interact with people. I know Zoom's fine. I mean, I know we're doing Zoom right now, but you can't beat meeting people in person.
Hmm.
There's an energy in the room, and yeah,
Well, the energy motivates you. Do you know what I mean?
it
It's
does.
like there's only a certain level of motivation you can get off a big group call on Zoom,
Oh
because
yeah,
then like once the call's finished, you're kind of on your own. But you know,
yes,
you're literally exchanging that energy between groups of people in person.
yeah,
You know, and you're keeping yourself accountable. You're keeping yourself accountable as well as each other accountable as well, like to take sort of the action steps as needed.
yes,
Um, and when the local authorities know that there's big groups of people that are coming together like this that are challenging the systems, you know, it makes them sweaty as well. But and
oh
then
yeah,
if they're sweating, there's a reason why.
oh yeah,
You know you're onto something. But that's fantastic advice, my friend. And yeah, I think there's not been a greater time than to kind of really bring this
yeah,
information out to the forefront because yeah, we did a podcast a couple of years ago, but like you
mm,
know, people forget quite easy, and you know this is why so many distractions keep getting thrown in your faces, ladies and gents, is because it's
yeah,
stopping you from like taking back that sovereignty. Even all the stuff with all the royal family and the speculation at the
yeah,
minute, it's still drama at the end of the day. Like it is still pure drama. And if anything, those those motherfuckers are the ones that have literally like squeezed every last penny out of you and made people
yes.
just accept it as normal. Oh, it's the crown's land. That's fair enough. Three, well, however many thousand stately homes across across England, Wales, and Scotland and Ireland, and then you've got like all this land that's just there that no one's allowed on, and you know which would be amazing for growing fresh food, not the poison shit in the supermarkets.
Oh
You know,
no,
but you've got a lord and a lady that live there that's been appointed, and half of them are all wrong uns as well. And then you know, just like propping up these stately homes and that it's all
yeah,
it's all the land of we the people.
it is.
It's just had this like fake illusion put over it that it's occupied and owned by the crown, which
Yes,
is an illusion in itself. The royal family is a massive illusion, just like politics.
absolutely right.
Um, yeah, and I think again that's another thing that people are really seeing for themselves now, aren't they? They're just like, yeah, this is one big puppet show. It's pure theatre. And you only have to look at the news, ladies and gents. I was showing people the other day, just watch Sky News. Every time they get on the hour, they'll go, today's top stories. So
Yes, stories.
research the word story
Yes.
and you'll work it out for yourself. But Pete, it's been a pleasure having you back on, my friend.
No
Always a
worries.
pleasure, and I can't stress enough, ladies and gents, please get onto the Sovereign Project.live's website with an abundance of free templates and information and learnings for you there. It's so important, if you really want to start taking back that sovereignty. Um, and just want to challenge, even if it's just challenging something, like the level of motivation and energy it gives you to be just do that in the first place is second to none.
Oh
And
yeah.
as soon as you start taking those steps, you're going to see how quickly the control unravels, and that your own knowledge on what you're doing and taking back that power and taking back that sovereignty is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger every day.
Okay.
But is there anything for the benefit of the viewers and listeners you want to share, mate, before we
Sure, no worries. Yeah, just like I say, you mentioned the website, which is really good. Oh, I'm gonna plug my book.
Oh, he's got a book now.
There you go. We've got the latest book,
The
um,
system.
the system, delving deeper into the abyss. So this is when I really get into it. This is stuff about courts, how they operate, the traps of the system, all this sort of stuff's in there. And by the way, if people say, "Ah, you're in it for the money, you're trying to sell a book," I literally give the chapters away for free on the website. All right. So if it's 20 quid for a book, and if you don't want to spring a 20 quid for a book, not a problem. The chapters are free. You can download them.
Awesome, man.
Okay. But it helps us because the thing is, I was doing the Sovereign Project for free for about a year or two. Well, I still do it for free. But then I've got some big projects I want to pay for, and I've got to try and raise some money because I've got
Mm.
to put an app together. I'm
Oh, it
talking,
all costs money, man. Even running
it
a
does.
website and bandwidth and everything. People
Yeah.
forget that.
I know.
It's yeah. It's like I say to people, like um people say, oh, why would you pay a monthly subscription to do meditations and breath work and all this kind of stuff, etc., etc. I'm like, that's fine, but you can go onto YouTube, but then
Yeah.
like these people's videos are getting like 5, 6, 7 million hits, and how much do you think they're earning from ad revenue just off that one video? A
Absolutely.
lot more than people like me and you that are like that are doing all this information,
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So no, it's absolutely fantastic, mate.
No.
Hats off to you, brother. And it's great to have people like you out there around the country, around the world, doing all this great work on behalf of the masses. It's an absolute pleasure to know people like yourself,
Nice.
and to see the work you're doing. But ladies and gents, please go and check out Pete's Sovereign Project Live website. Download the information you need. Starting to put it into action now, even if it's just like the reading phase. And please like update us, in the next few weeks
Sure.
or months over, if you've taken action today based off this episode, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
This feedback's totally, important. It's massive. Um,
Yeah.
but please go and take back what's yours, ladies and gents, and look after yourself. And myself and Pete will see you once again. And I'll see you very soon on the AJ Roberts Show. Much love.